Hi, my name is Danny McBride. I am married to Josh. He is a Cincinnatian born and bred, very loyal Bengals, Reds, and University of Michigan fan. So I am a loyal Bengals, Michigan, and Reds fan. Yeah, I am mixed, half Korean and half white. And my husband, he is also mixed, half black and half white. So when I moved to Cincinnati, my husband was working for a Christian organization that required Undivided as staff training. And so I participated. That for me, that first journey, I realized, okay, this is a calling for the rest of my life to engage in biblical justice through my career, whatever. And at the same time, I was starting my PhD, and that really directed my paths. And I just kept staying connected with Undivided as a participant. And then I became a facilitator. And most recently, I have been Zoom producing. And the personal growth that I have seen, the new trajectory, every 7 weeks I start, has been so imperative to my life. So I had never been vulnerable like that about anything hard in my life. It was always like, on the outside, everything was great. And so to me, that was so powerful. And I realized that especially anti-Black racism was so prevalent in the Korean spaces I grew up in, but no one talked about it. And so now I feel like God is trying to grow me into how I can engage in these conversations in Korean or other Asian spaces and it not be like judgmental or condemning, but just exposing darkness that I don't think any light has ever been shined on in the community I grew up in. And so, yes, that is what keeps me connected, just the personal impact and seeing the cohorts grow through the experience is pretty undeniable, the changes that I have witnessed in others and myself.
My name is Tasha Ness, and my husband and I have been married since 2001, so a really long time. He and I met in college. We were both studying to be engineers, so we spent a lot of time together. And we got married right after we graduated, and we have 3 kids. Our oldest is 16, and we have a 13-year-old and a 7-year-old. And I am located in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I am Korean, and I feel like the term Asian American has, I don't know, it's complicated. Like on the one hand, I appreciate the acknowledgement that there is something unique about me, but it's also very, the term Asian American is so broad. There are so many different ethnic groups that fall under that category. It's a very narrow, it feels like a very narrow-minded approach to understanding the Asian American experience and the beauty and the depth and the diversity that is there. So the church that my husband and I have been a part of for a long time has been a community that has professed to strive towards being multi-ethnic, living into the values of unity and harmony and racial reconciliation. Now, in practice, that has had peaks and valleys. COVID happened, George Floyd happened, and I live just a couple blocks from my church, and our church is located like a mile and a half from where George Floyd was murdered, and my city went up in flames. And I was disappointed in where not just our church, but churches across the nation, how they were handling and how they were having conversations around all that was going on in my city, but right in our country and in the world. And then I happened to find Undivided, and it was so refreshing to just be a part of this organization that was like speaking hard truths about what it's like to be a person of color in the United States, right? And yet keeping it fully grounded in, faith in Jesus Christ, and to be willing to, like stretch folks and to make space to have these really, really, really hard conversations in a way that honored one another, but then just gave space to talk through these things, to develop relationships, to truly know and see one another in this process. So that's why.
Hi, my name is Esther Kong. My husband and I have 2 little boys, a 4-year-old and a 15-month-old. We live in Columbia, Maryland, halfway between DC and Baltimore, 30 minutes from both cities. And we have a little dog named Mandu, which means dumpling in Korean. Our family is mixed race. I am Korean American. My family immigrated from Seoul, South Korea when I was 4 years old. And my husband is Caucasian, born and raised in Cincinnati, Westchester in particular. And our boys, we speak to them in English and Korean. Our boys, I speak to them primarily in Korean, and we're hoping that they will be fluent. What does being Asian American mean to me? I'd say it's such a multifaceted question, a lot of different answers. I'd say one of them is that no matter where I am, no matter what I do, I'm not Korean enough and I'm not American enough. I am 5'8". I stand out very much in the Korean population, and so I've never been Korean enough. I've always been too tall, too loud, too outgoing. And then on the American side, on the Caucasian side of America, I've been too Asian. Yeah, I think it's just kind of hard to be a woman in general, but to be a woman of color, and then especially just post-COVID, the whole Asian hate crimes that happened, that was really hard. My husband and I had to have conversations, my family had to have conversations. None of us had carried pepper spray before, all of us started carrying pepper spray. I did not go to the playground or on walks with our very young son. He was barely a year old at the time when COVID hit. I did not go out in public unless I was meeting a friend or a family member or something. So that was really hard. I'm a part of Undivided because actually I was a co-facilitator for the first round of Undivided when it first launched. And my husband participated in another group because we decided to be best if we did not do the group together. I did it because we, just like Midwest, Cincinnati, white family, marrying Korean American, Philadelphia family was just a lot. There were a lot of cultural differences and family differences. And we thought we would grow by doing Undivided together, which we did, and it was really, really great. And came back to Undivided after we moved to Columbia, Maryland, because I really wanted to get more involved in DEI work because, again, I guess for me, thoughts and prayers are great and very powerful, but I'm not one to sit still. I will pray, but I feel like action needs to be included in that. I think knowing that on the eve of turning 36 and having just joined the Army and having a lot of people be like, why would you join the Army when you're so old, with 2 kids? Just the hope of God never gives up on us. We should never give up on ourselves. We should always be role models for our community and our children. And just knowing that the world is a better place because of people that are fighting for our freedom, are fighting for diversity, and the collision of, racism and trying to teach this next generation, every generation, that there's so much beauty in the world and that God created us for a reason,